Talking with no mo. Talking with no mo. Step in the room, let's go. Got that spark, got that flow. Quick hit talk, real talk. Every word on the mark. Lean close, hear that name every time. Bring the flame, one more round, let it show. Talking with no mo.
Our guest today is Chuck Winn, a retired Army colonel, a strategic planner, educator, and author. He is a Martin County School Board District 1 candidate. And with all full disclosure, so nobody says, you said this, you did that, I am the treasurer on Mr. Winn's campaign, and I will try and keep my bias to a minimum today. Besides, we're going to talk about facts, truth, and all the things that are good. So, Mr. Winn, please get into it with us. Tell us why you are pursuing the seat for Martin County School Board District 1.
Well, I'm continuing my 3.5-year pursuit of making our schools safer for our students and our faculty and staff by fully implementing the Florida School Guardian Program, like a majority of the rest of the counties in the states have already done. And just to describe what the School Guardian Program is, it's a post Marjorie Stoneham Douglas reform that authorizes school districts to use volunteer teachers and staff who have been thoroughly psychologically screened and who complete an intensive 144-hour training program. They are empowered to use firearms in the event a young sociopath decides to go on a shooting spree in one of the schools. And Martin County just has never seriously considered implementing that aspect of the Guardian program. Now, they have school resources on every one of the 16 or 17 campuses, and school resource officers. That's a full-time armed security staff member that's there to respond. But these campuses are huge.
Yeah.
They're just too big for one lone SRO to cover, and adding more full-time SROs is just cost prohibitive. I mean, the threat is real. We have to be prepared for it, but we can't afford to, it's just cost prohibitive to add the number of personnel to immediately respond to a school shooting situation. Now, the sheriff's department, we have a great sheriff's department, but has anybody ever gone through a drill to measure the response time for each and every one of our 16 schools for external law enforcement to arrive and to get to the hot spot where the shooting is going on?
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
And
Why hasn't it been implemented? You said it's a 3.5-year trek that you've been on, and you really want to get this done. Where's the resistance?
well, my understanding is, well, the only time that I can recall where the school district seriously considered this was towards the end of Rebecca Negron's time on the school board, when she was the lone member of the school board that supported using volunteer teacher and staff as guardians. Now, my understanding was that at the time it was Sheriff Snyder did not support using guardians. I don't know why. I mean, I don't really care who controls the guardians. If the sheriff wants to make them reserve deputies under his control, that's fine. If an incident breaks out, automatically they revert to the control of the sheriff's department. And when the sheriff arrives at the scene, he can transition command. But you need first responders on site to immediately suppress the danger, to immediately eliminate the danger. And
Yeah,
it's not done within minutes. The longer you delay getting armed support to deliver suppressive fire on that shooter, the more people can be killed or severely injured.
I agree with you, and I don't think it has to be a one or the other. Guardians or, civilian ad litem or, just those people you pay or SRO. I think that it should be a coordination personally
Oh,
between the SRO
absolutely.
and the staff, and they should train to know who each other are, what they're going to do in the event of this type of an emergency, overtrain beyond what they need to on trauma, on first aid, etc. I think it's an excellent idea, but let me throw this into the mix here. Nothing's ever easy. Spoke with and interviewed Miss Amy Pritchett, who said that during the last pressure cooker of negotiations with the sheriff's office, that the sheriff indicated it was either their SROs or they put in their guardians that they would not work with the SROs or with the guardians.
I think she probably misunderstood what the communication the sheriff intended to deliver, and that I don't think the sheriff would ever make a statement that he would refuse to come to the assistance of a school experiencing a live shooter because
No,
they
no,
have
no, no, no. I don't think that. I
no.
think that they were saying that if you wanted to have your guardians, you're not going to have a contract with the SRO officers. I was told that it was put as a polarization. It's either the guardians or the SROs, and that the sheriff was not willing to work with the guardians,
Well,
even on a basic platform level.
well, there's a lot of miscommunication going around about this program. And what we really need are open public forums like these candidate forums that aren't controlled by the school district and aren't controlled by the sheriff's office,
Right.
where we can discuss all aspects of this program in detail. And the point you made, rehearsals, drills, each and every one of our 16 schools has to have an individual response plan that's exercised a couple of times a year. And it's a team effort. The school resource officer, who would most likely be the incident site commander, would assume control over the 5 or 6 uh, school guardians, who would either be staff teachers and a combination of staff and teachers, and they would immediately go after the shooter until external law enforcement arrived. Now, another bogus, uh, deliberately spread rumor is that these teachers would be going around packing heat, going to class carrying their weapons every day. No, they wouldn't have to do that. You would use your operations and maintenance budget to install inconspicuously located wall safes that could be palm activated, that would contain the weapons and the ammunition, and a vest that clearly identifies the school guardians for external law enforcement when they arrive, similar to the nylon jackets that FBI and ATF people wear. Um, another, it's just
Chuck, what this
a
demonstrates
majority
to
of
this dem I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you here real quick. What this demonstrates, just your clarity on these issues demonstrates to me the lack of discussion and depth of understanding that is given at these school board meetings, because you never hear dialogue with any of these depths or the derivative offshoots or second order or third order thinking. So, forget the guardian portion of it for a second. I applaud you on your ability to look at things in a more, like you said, you're a strategic planner in a more planning type of environment. And I think that that's needed within the system, because the system, in my opinion, has become overrun with state mandate. And for too many up there, they think that they're nothing more than institutional rubber stamps.
Well, that's a good point you made about institutional rubber stamps. Now, don't get me wrong. We have dedicated school district staff members and educators who do a good job. I mean, we rank pretty high in the state as far as our school ratings go, but you're right. Every member of the school board can't march in lockstep with the administration. The way it's starting to appear to me now, why even bother to have elections? Why not just have the superintendent pick the school board members? If we're all going to just cheerlead and regurgitate staff statistics every election year.
Hmm.
And that, don't get me wrong, we have good school board members. They all focus on their special areas of interest. What we lack is somebody who's security focused with my type of background and strategic planning, people that look ahead. Without vision, the people perish, as it says in the Bible. And I do believe in that book, and I read it every day, just like I pray for those in authority every day.
Amen.
That
Well,
doesn't mean I have to kiss them where the sun doesn't shine.
I hope that if you do and when you
It
do
doesn't
get your
say that
seat,
in the Bible. It just
uh,
says pray for those in authority, not kiss them.
that's very true. That is very true. Well, I hope that you will help us get the Ten Commandments back on the walls within the school district as well,
Well,
if you
just
can.
from a historical perspective, without any religious context, as long as they're on the building, as long as they are on the United States Supreme Court building, why can't they be in classrooms?
Agreed. Agreed.
Now, you
110%.
should also put it in historical context and compare it with the Code of Hammurabi, the Napoleonic Code, the other great law, systems of law that have existed throughout history. But no, there's no reason for not including them in
Yeah.
the schools from a historical perspective, and that's not ramming religion down the kid's throat. It just explains the influence of various historical
The
uh,
truisms. It's just
tourism.
it
Yeah,
is. I mean, they are God's natural law,
yeah.
and our country is founded upon them. And if people don't like it, then go find another country. In my opinion, it's always been my attitude. But
Oh,
I'll say it. But look, I want to get in a little further here. You have in your qualifications that you're an educator. Tell the people a little bit about your educational background so that they can understand too that you're really focused on education in a way.
oh yes. When I uh, graduated from college on the GI Bill, I held a couple of jobs while I was a traditional drilling part-time guardsman. After I got back from Vietnam, I went to college on the GI Bill, stayed in the National Guard, and then for a year or so after I graduated and got my degree, I was a substitute teacher in the Avon and Brockton school system. So I had some experience there, but my primary education experience was during the 80s at Tuskegee University. I was an associate professor of military science there for 4 years, and also the vice chairman of the academic department, and also the director of curriculum, because we had to make sure that our advanced course, which were the juniors and seniors, we had to ensure that those four semester last 4 semesters of military science contained management and organizational leadership instruction that could be counted as the equivalent of a business elective, say for our engineering students or our um, majors that had very tight curricula and only offered a limited number of electives.
Fantastic. So you've got a little bit of experience understanding how the educational system pretty much works and is supposed to go. I think that's awesome.
Well,
We,
I was for about 5 months. I was the full professor of military science and the commander of the battalion there on an interim basis. And I think I was the only white one they ever had there too, because
yeah,
Tuskegee University is a historically black university, and that position was a great honor for me to hold because it was once held by the late Brigadier General Benjamin O. Davis Sr., who was our nation's first black general officer.
awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of history people don't even know about out there. All right, let's look at it. The
Oh, and the logo of my campaign also is my students did make me an honorary member of Alpha Phi Omega fraternity, and that's the logo of my campaign because it was a service community and or a service fraternity. That was their primary mission. And as Calvin Coolidge once said, let us look to service rather than reward. And that's why I want to serve. I don't have anything to gain by being on the school board.
Yeah, well, that's true. I think the only thing you have to gain is what you can give back, and I know that of you.
And it's
Um,
time to give back.
Amen. Amen. Right now, the Martin County School Board system is ranked fourth in the state of Florida, and Florida is ranked somewhere up around 4 or 5 nationally, which is a lot better than it was back in the 80s.
Yeah,
This is
I
on a,
remember. I remember back in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004, we were in the 40s. So yeah, it's come a long way. And don't get me wrong, we have dedicated uh, teachers and educators and managers on the district staff that watch that closely. And hey, to Mrs. Pritchard's credit, she's very focused on reading, and they've got to
Mhm.
learn. That's what they have to learn in the first years is reading. That's really it ties into Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins's education platform. Laser focus on reading, math, sciences, and objectively teaching history without any activist bias of either the right or the left. And that's something I can monitor because I do have a degree in history, and I was inducted into Phi Alpha Theta Historical Honor Society. So,
Yeah, I would say that's something you probably have a good feel for at
uh,
that level. Well,
so
so
let the others monitor. I'm not claiming to be an expert in math or let the experts and those with an area of interest in math and the sciences cover those. Let me cover the history. I mean, I can work with anybody.
Well, the question I had for you on that of the, us being ranked fourth at this point, and I spoke to Miss Pritchett about it because she came on and was nice enough to interview with me as well, is okay, the real hard work seems to start right now, if you ask me. I mean, getting from 54th to 30th is kind of easy, but when you go up to fourth and you want to get to third, second, or first, what kind of management or strategic planning efforts are involved in something like that? I mean, that's the
Okay.
next level. That's a higher
Now,
order level.
this is where when you get into strategic planning, you have to master the detail and dig into the details. And it will take time, but um, I am heavily reliant on the Florida Chamber of Commerce Foundation's um, strategic plan for 2030. It's known as Blueprint 2030. And their their statistics or their objectives are 80% of the workforce has to have essential uh, employability skills. 60% of Floridians in the ages of 65 to 64 need to have a high value post-secondary credential in some field. And 95% of high school students need to graduate within 4 years. 100% of eighth graders have to have reading and math skills at or above grade level, and 100% of third graders have to read at or above the grade level. So when you look at these A schools and B schools, you have to consider that they're based on 6 measured areas. These school ratings that you get, we have so many A schools, so many B schools. Well, an A grade is an overall score of 64% in the six measured areas of reading, math, science, social studies, in addition to graduation rates and accelerated studies or accelerated success. Those are all combined to come up with an overall school rating, and 64% will get you an A, 57 to 63% will give you a B. Now, what I would like to see are the numerical values of all the schools in the county.
Yeah, good point.
Elementary school percentages for an A are a little bit lower. An A only needs 62%. B only need 54 to 61%. In a C, 41% to 53%. But as for me, I would rather have 4 or 5 B schools where you had higher graduation rates and more focus on vocational education that integrates those transitional cognitive skills that are going to be required for that 2030 economy than I would to have more A schools with lower graduation rates or people that aren't focused on academic achievement and going on to higher academic studies. I don't want to see them neglected. We have to focus on the good, solid center of mass student, not really focused on going on to college right away, but we need to make sure that these accelerated programs aren't merely a way to save people money who are headed for advanced degrees in some profession. I mean, those are great programs. Don't get me wrong. The
Yeah.
ones that award concurrent associate degrees with the high school diplomas, but we need to be careful that we're not focusing too much on those types of fields that eventually lead to advanced professional degrees. I mean, that's great to give them a jump start like that towards those advanced degrees, but we have to be focusing on integrating those cognitive transitional skills, and that's where my experience as a director of curriculum would be helpful in that I think in the 4 years that I'd be on the school board, I doubt if I'd want to run for a second term, but I would be focusing and working very closely with the Florida Chamber Foundation and the local manufacturers that are coming into Martin County because we need to feed that first pillar of
Hmm.
the Florida Chamber's 2030 blueprint, which is uh, talent management. And we need to put people out with those skills into that talent pool.
Yeah, those are very good points. There's two things I'd like to follow up, but I think a lot of people in recent years have forgotten that there is actually a workforce out there that is the backbone of America that gets things done, and not everybody can be Joe Cool with his phone and earphones in and get $100,000 a year job sitting in air conditioning. And right now I know plumbers that are making 150, $190 an hour. It's a
Absolutely.
great time to be a skilled tradesman because without skilled tradesmen, we become a third world overnight. Now, back to I like the way that you took apart the numbers on how we are actually graded. And when you look at those, the overall diminishment, I think to say something is an A in most people's minds means you're well above 90%. And an A in this case you said was 54%
No,
or
no,
it's 60
62% at the
62.
elementary school level and 64 percent at the high school level.
And that's with a
And
combined
it's based on
average of all of these different
combining the
categories.
six measured areas, and that
It
I know several of the candidates are doing a great job of focusing on the reading test scores because that's a big driver of the grades, but a lot of those reading scores are down in the 50s.
yeah, I would
I
almost
haven't, I
like to
haven't
see them.
studied them that closely, but they're going up, and that's great. But we
It is
still,
it is good. We went from if I'm not mistaken, 2022 there were 53% with reading proficiency, and now that's currently up to 65. Part of what we run into as well is English as a second language. And the schools, we have 4 schools, I believe, that are English as a second language schools. So that, and I learned something the other day that I'm not sure if you may. We have 86 different dialects within the school system.
are you speaking about the indigenous
The children themselves,
origins from
languages.
Central America that don't speak Spanish, that speak some indigenous Central American language? I'm not.
Well,
I don't
no, there
know.
are 86 different languages that are actually spoken within our school system from the children
Okay.
that they speak, for anything from Creole to Farsi, you name it, man. They're the 80s. I was amazed to hear that there's that many. It's not just a Spanish and a Spanish derivative. It's
Oh,
actually
no, no,
86 different.
no. It's like you have a very large population in Central America that are the indigenous ancestors of the Mayas, the
Sure.
Mayas, the Aztecs, the Incas, and then you have the mestizos mixed. But some of these indigenous Central American origin people never learned Spanish, and there are people, and it's difficult finding the translators that are bilingual in these indigenous languages here.
I bet it is. I
But
really bet it is. I
but
was
what we can do though is let's face it, we are a bilingual country. The Spanish were here before we were. The oldest military unit in America has its antecedents in the Spanish colonial militia that was established in St. Augustine. Uh,
never thought about that.
The Spanish colonized the Southwest states were the heartland of the Aztec Empire, and they were first colonized by Spain 80, 100 years before the
Hmm.
Pilgrims got here, or John Smith colonized Jamestown about 20 years before the Pilgrims got to Massachusetts.
Yeah, well,
But
I never thought of it that way.
you have to look at it too, that if you look at the Florida Chamber's blueprint for 2030, we have to focus on South America with the widening of the Panama Canal. Florida is heading to be a big port of entry for all the South American countries and for international trade purposes with those markets down there. Bilingualism in Spanish and English will prepare our students uh, for careers down there.
That's
You know,
awesome.
for careers in international business or careers that require extensive dealings abroad, business careers that involve extensive interaction with Latin American countries. And we also have to focus on certain languages like Mandarin, Chinese. That's becoming a very much in demand subject in the schools for those that are really high speed academic types, which I never was. I don't know if you were, but
No, I wasn't really, but when I was in school in the district I was in Illinois, you had to have two languages. You had to choose a second language in order to graduate, and that's been taken away in a lot of places,
well,
especially here.
this goes back to the decline in academia. It goes back to the campus protest days of the 60s, and that uh, all college degrees, regardless of majors, prior to about the early 70s, required a Common Core first 2 years. You had to have a year of math, a year of a lab science, a year of a physical science, 1 or 2 years of a modern language. And then in your second semester of your sophomore year, you might be able to take some electives in your major. And that all changed when the academicians, especially in the Northeast, caved to the campus radicals of the 60s and watered down their curriculums. You can make it through, you can get a liberal arts degree now without a language. You don't need a language anymore. You can get by with some kind of watered down math course for 1 or 2 semesters. I always say that I had two college careers, AD and BD, before the draft and after the draft. And before the draft, it was the old curriculum. And I say, thank God for those gutless academicians who caved to the campus radicals, or I never would have got my degree. They had that they had the curriculum all watered down so that I could sail.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, you have seen a great
Of course, it
deal of
was different. It
history,
was
so
different. I paid the price. I had to take a lot of um, undergraduate courses once I had my degree to qualify for a business type master's program, but eventually I got a business related master's in human resource management.
You've just got degrees hanging all over the place. I bet we haven't even heard about them all. Listen, I don't know if you know how I do this or not, but nobody pays me to do this. I don't take donations. I don't have paid subscriptions like Sean Ryan and the crew. So I use the free version of Zoom, and it's limited to 40 minutes.
Oh, actually,
We're down to about 5 to 6 minutes left. So is there any area that we haven't covered that you would like to go over and you'd like to talk about or tell the people about?
well, we need to, one of my objectives is going to be to, over the next 4 years, would be to survey the textbooks out there, starting with elementary schools that integrate basic themes of ethical behavior, respect for the dignity of the individual, respect for the property and the rights of others, and tolerating people that are different without an excessive focus on why they're different. Um, I would like to get back to basic ethics and integrity, moral issues, um, right and wrong, respect for the rule of law, respect for the rights and property of others, and respect for the dignity of every individual. And that's really, I think, one of the failings of our school systems, both private and public.
Well, if somebody wants to get in touch with you or find out more about you, how do they go about it?
Well, my email address is on my website, which is in progress. I do have a website now, but it's still being developed. So just shoot me an email at wincl@earthlink.net, or just keep monitoring that website. When I get the link up, you'll be able to reach me through more venues.
Okay. Do you want to give that web address now or do you want to hold that for later?
Um,
I know it's under development still, but
it's it's chuckwinn4safeschools.com.
there you go.
And I don't want to confuse people because I've got actually three emails connected to my campaign, but I need to keep them. I need to keep my personal email
Sure.
separate, and I don't want to mix them. So by the end of the week, I should have
A
the
direct campaign email address.
campaign email address is set up, and I want to make sure it rolls over into the right secondary account.
All right, Chuck. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah,
We're going to put this out.
thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. The door's always open, and we'll come back and do it again, hopefully before the campaign's over.
Yeah, have a good afternoon.
You too, buddy.
Talking with no more. Talking with no more. Step in the room, let's go. Got that spark, got that flow. Quick hit talk, real talk. Every word on the mark. Lean close, hear that name every time. Bring the flame, one more round, let it show. Talking with no more.